Hello, hello, and welcome to another episode of A Better World with Adrian. I am so deeply grateful and excited for today's episode because it is my second ever guest interview, guest collaboration in the history of the podcast. And so this channel, whether you're new to the space or you've been here since day one, you know that this is an unrestricted vocal channel for deep dives, for transmission, for healing. And so welcoming someone into the space is huge. And I'm just so grateful for today. So I want to introduce our beautiful, new voice in the space, Julia Phoenix.
Thank you so much, Adrian. And I am also deeply grateful to be here and so excited to connect and share here today.
Yeah. Feels so good already.
I know. It always does when we connect.
It does. And then we're gonna share that with everyone of like just following the feeling. And yeah. I mean, even like those of you listening, like you can feel the potency of the space. And it's like exhale.
Mm-hmm.
So before we begin, I want to share what's on the altar. And, the title of this podcast episode is The Lemurian Return. And so Julia and I are going to be exchanging energy, words, ideas, experiences, all in the Lemurian frequency. And so I brought all of Lemuria with us today.
Excellent.
I have all the rose quartz.
Mm.
I have every single blue crystal I own to bless the throat chakras of all. And one thing coming through so much for me lately is how the ears are connected to the throat chakra.
Mm-hmm.
And so a willingness to listen and know the truth first before we speak and express. I have this serpentine crystal for energetic protection. I have my Lemurian cave crystal, which I've been told this exists on Maui. I'm gonna find it. I have my dolphin clear quartz, and then finally, I always bring fresh flowers, and they're very connected to my guide, my Nana, Sally. She's with me all the time and recently shared that she is Lemurian. She was Lemurian, but she could not access it in the lifetime that she was my grandma. And so her and I are very connected through flowers. So we have yellow, red, and orange roses. And that's for power, love, creativity. And then the white is just purification. So before we fully begin, let us ground on Mama Gaia. Take 3 deep breaths together, connecting the minds, bodies, and spirits of all in the space. mine, Julia's, our guides, God source energy, and every single person listening. Inhale through the nose. Exhale out the mouth. Inhale through the nose. Opening your ears, your throat, your third eye to everything available to you. Exhale out the mouth. One last inhale through the nose. Holding it at the top, the divine white light blesses you, me, all of us. For the highest timeline and good of all, may this space be a clean, clear channel. Exhale out the mouth. Gently flutter your eyes open. And here we are.
Here we are.
So I would love for my community to just know you. And so if you want to introduce yourself, anything coming through about who you are, about what you believe in.
Okay. um, yeah, so my name is Julia Phoenix. I have been on a transformational path for many years, and I have been assisting other human beings and souls with their own transformational path professionally for about the last 8 years. And my work has gone through many different iterations. Um, but I am a DNA activator and I work with sound and frequency to clear out certain distorted coding in the DNA and the cells, in people's energy bodies, and really to activate their soul in their body, you know, which is the foundation for everything. You know, I'm a bit obsessed with my work in that way, and with the DNA and with the higher self embodiment, and how that can look like and what comes through, you know, as someone who has, you know, struggled a lot in this lifetime and felt very disconnected from my source and my true self, or from anything that was really beyond the level of suffering that I was stuck in, you know.
Mm.
So I'm not entirely sure how much to share about my story, but suffice it to say, you know, I grew up in a very abusive environment, and really went through a lot of very deep karmic experiences and challenges with substances, with eating disorders, with all kinds of things. And, you know, I went through these portals of surrender in my own process. And, you know, looking back, it was always a spiritual path. It was always a spiritual um, thing that was guiding me through all of those experiences, you know? And I think that sometimes people don't view these experiences that way
Mm.
because from a very human lens, like some of the things I've been through are rather horrific, you know.
Mhm.
And there's this way in which it's easy to be inside of those experiences or be on the other side of them on some level and just kind of say like, well, that shouldn't have happened, you know. And on one level, yes, it wasn't okay, you know. The things that I went through as a very young child um, were not okay. And at the same time, I am like really clear that it was a necessary and chosen element of my soul path and my evolution. I've worked out a lot of shit for many generations before and after me, for myself to be able to sit here and act as a light post and a guide for other human beings. And of course, I'm still evolving, right? But, you know, deep within me, there's always been this element of, and I know it comes out a lot with you. You can always feel my heart, you know, I just feel this
Oh,
like,
yeah.
you feel this element of me that is like very soft and very heart connected and extremely sensitive. I love that you bring that element of me out, but it, you know, it can be really challenging to navigate the world as it currently is when that's your sacred architecture, when that's who you are. And this is me just sort of tying this in with what we're speaking about today with Lemuria, you know, because those memories of Lemuria, also of the Pleiades, you know, that is coded into my beingness in such a profound way. And now I understand it as I am a representative and here to be of service, like to bring that energy, which is medicine to the people and to the current paradigm. But it can be a challenging path, you
Oh,
know, to walk with that level of sensitivity in the world that we currently live in, and to not leave it, and to not leave yourself, and to not check out, and to not numb out, and to not be constantly seeking escape from that, you know. So this is another way I feel called to help people to access, and it may be different than mine, it will be different than mine for many people, but their unique soul blueprint, right? The purity of their soul, the immensity of their soul, to be able to access that and bring it forward into the world, because that is the medicine. That is the medicine. It's not that the world needs you to build this empire to save everybody. This is something that's been coming through a lot in my own understanding and experiences. Like, that's not it. It's that you, in true embodiment of who you really are, and walking in that remembrance, in that knowing, being the channel for that, and distributing that energetic to the collective is the medicine.
Yeah. And oh my God. So first of all, everyone, who else is just healed by receiving the codes that come from Julia's mouth? Because I'm sitting over here in full body chills, like, holy fuck.
I love you.
Um, yeah, just coming through so strong is like medicine, embodiment, initiations, like,
Mm.
and I believe there's so, like, our stories have so many golden threads. And I recently, like, my podcast last week was 11 milestones from my Chicago chapter. And it was sharing a lot of stuff that like my community has heard about, but not like fully. Like when I moved here, I was in addiction.
Mm.
You're talking about escaping. And it's like, you know, first the willingness to go toe to toe with yourself,
Mm.
the willingness to it's far more courageous to continue life with an open heart
Yes.
when you've experienced darkness than it is to just not. And so, yeah, I just want to say thank you for what you've moved through. And I think, you know, previous versions of me and the contracts I made, you know, in other lifetimes, and it's all bringing us to this point. And something that I come back to again and again for myself, for my clients, is like a new earth is birthed in me first.
Yes.
And so tending to our inner landscape, and then, you know, even just when we come back to the word of embodiment, like this podcast is the embodiment of collaborating and bringing, you know, I just imagine all of these crown chakras just lighting up like a big old Christmas tree. If you like Christmas trees, it can be something else.
I do, but
and not like carrying the weight of the world on your shoulder. Instead, being the steward of your medicine, and choosing that, you know, the purity of my medicine is my responsibility.
That's right. Yes. I've been sitting with that responsibility piece more recently. It's really powerful. And, you know, something along those lines is like, I feel there is this way in which like collaborations, you know, because we both come from this like online business space. That's how we met each other. There can be this like energetic there of like, what can I get from you? And it's kind of, do you know what I'm saying? Like, there's this like, well, we're collaborating because it makes sense, because I have something to offer you and you have something to offer me, and I'm going to reach your audience and you're going to reach my audience, and it's going to help me get to this place. Right. And the energetic of the collaboration that I feel with you is something incredibly different.
Yeah, I've never felt this before, to be quite honest. Like, I think Jack, our shared, you know, soul family, like I've felt, that's the only thing I can think of that's similar, but this is like so, it's the agenda of a new earth at the helm. And
Yes.
when we come together, we burn brighter, we stand taller. And, you know, when we come back to, I mean, there's matrices everywhere. There's fucking matrices when I walk outside and I see, you know, ads everywhere. And then there's matrices when I log on to Instagram and have people sliding in my DMs. And I'm like, yo, get out. But coming back to this, like, it's just so deep, and it's a mystical, you know, we're rewriting history. Like this Lemuria, that's what it is, this deep frequency of connection and collaboration and true, like visceral,
Yes.
chosen family is what I feel with our connection. And it's so interesting. I'm getting a vision right now about how we each had our own golden threads we chose to follow. And so I'm seeing these two like golden darts. And then our souls decided a long time ago, like, hey, when you all get through that shit, then you can.
And we go meet up. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Exactly. I see that too. And I think what's also really beautiful is that, you know, both of us are in service to the greater calling and a bigger thing than just our individual selves, or, you know, just, I don't know, creating something for whatever other purpose. It's like there is this bigger thing that is like magnetically pulling us together and that is like holding the whole process. And I think if one of us was out of alignment with that thing, or was not tapped in, or was not willing to respect like the energy and allow that to unfold the way that it was meant to, and really put that at the helm, like you said, because that's what's driving this whole ship. Like it's not
Oh
me,
yeah,
it's
we're
not
not
you.
driving, by the way.
That's not happening, you know what I mean? And so we're both just kind of like, whoa, okay, I surrender, right? And then there is this incredibly beautiful unfolding within that we just get to show up for,
Yeah.
you know.
And yeah, it's like, everybody in my community now knows I'm moving to Maui, and it's like, I obey.
Yes.
Like, and there's, I don't know if you've seen the movie, The Blues Brothers. It's
Yeah,
a
years ago, but
really, really old movie, but it's based in Chicago. And the whole movie, they're saying, I'm on a mission from God. And I literally, I've been thinking that's been coming through my channel so much, because I'm like, it's not my mission.
yes,
Yes, I know I have a human and her name is Adrian.
right.
She has
And that's important.
that's important. And it's not about, putting her in the corner. She's
Right.
an important part of it, but it's like, she is a fragment of source. And
Yes.
so it's really just taking our core, which is source, and letting it be like pulled and kissed out of us, just like
Mm.
feels it feels so good.
It does feel so good. Yeah, and there's been very little resistance for each of us. And I think that this is also what I want to say is that it's a it's a beautiful result that can come from uh living through so much karmic shit that you begin to trust. You know, I mentioned that I've had like many surrender portals in my life, you know, and there have been times when I have been guided simply because I couldn't make a different choice, really. Like it was like if I wanted to survive, you know what I mean? Like you must surrender if you want to survive. You have to trust in something greater than you. You actually have to put that voice of your ego sort of like over here somewhere for a minute to just walk the path, even if it's scary, even if you're freaking out. And I think both you and I have gotten to see a number of experiences through that where it's like, that is where all the good shit is. That's where the magic is. That's where the openings are. That's where the most beautiful change happens that you can't control or predict. And
Mm-hmm.
so when I feel that call, or when something becomes clear that like this is true from this bigger thing, or this is what's being asked of me. I obey not because I'm like, well, I don't have free will, and so I should probably just, listen to mom and dad or whatever, or because something bad will happen to me if I don't or whatever. Like, no, I totally have free will and choice. I can say no to that.
Uh-huh.
I could totally say no. I could have said no to collaboration with you.
Mm-hmm.
But I know what happens when I do that versus when I say yes.
Yeah. And I think, you know, the word obey and all of that, it's like there's so many religious programs and traumas
Yes.
that exist with that word. So for me, it's like spirit chose me. I got to choose it back, like there's a reason why.
Responding. You
Yeah,
respond.
respond. Like when you get the call, hang up the phone and go. So yeah, it's so powerful. And I love what you shared about, that's where the magic, it's like as you're taking the steps, the bricks laid right underneath your foot, but it's not there till you're like almost there. And it's nice to be in a place that, we both do cellular healing in our different modalities. And I think this really showcases the power of the body healing rather than just mindset and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we've created a lot of evidence for ourselves to keep believing in the unknown.
Yeah.
So
True.
for anybody out there that's listening, something I do for my human, because by the way, my human can be a control freak.
I can't relate at all. I don't know about that. Just kidding.
I'll make a list for her.
Mm.
I'll sit down and it's like, it gives my human mind a place to land. Like, hey, remember when this happened and you didn't know which way was up and it led you to this? And so it's a powerful practice that I come to again and again. Because here's the thing, you guys, or gals, or however you say your identity, it never stops. It just deepens.
Correct.
So I would love to really lean into Lemuria because I've mentioned a little bit on my podcast, not much. So I think it's going to be really helpful to just share what Lemuria means to each of us. And then also, spoiler alert, we have a creation that we're going to be sharing with everyone where you get to discover what Lemuria is to you. And so I just want to speak into this space. Like this is new and edgy for me. Like I've recently had very visceral rememberings of times from Lemuria and like other lifetimes where I was killed for being openly powerful and mystic. And I just want to share that if you have experienced that, you're not crazy. That's very real and that lives in the cells. And so I feel excited to talk about this and have a space where people can just like explore this part of them.
Yes, it's so important. Yeah, that stuff is real. Um, so I think it's important to name that. And also the work that you and I both do um, can powerfully help to shift that coding.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, for ever since I decided on Maui, I've been in my deep own healing of like, it's safe to speak the truth.
mhm.
It's safe to be seen in the truth. Like I've been going through my own initiations as a medicine woman, and just alchemizing myself because a lot came up. And I know that it's preparing me to lead, you know.
Yeah. And it's been really beautiful to watch you navigate that. And, following a call like that to move to a specific location, particularly when it doesn't make a lot of practical sense to a lot of people around you, but it's just like this bigger thing, is it takes a lot of courage and, a strong heart to make those moves. And, obviously Maui and Hawaii like has a resonance with Lemuria,
Mhm.
and so do parts of the West Coast out here, including where I live, which is in Bandon, Oregon. It's just a little beach town, super small beach town that I visited when I was 15 years old with my family. It was one of like the most like the one of the only happy memories that I like had of like, being with my family, traveling or whatever. And it was here. And so I was called back here. Uh, my partner and I moved when I was 31. So this would have been 6 years ago now.
Oh my God, I'm 31.
Oh, really? I had lived, Adrian, I had lived in the Bay Area in California for 31 years. I hopped around different locations, but I had never migrated. I had never moved out of state. And it was just this really swift, sudden thing. I found a house on Craigslist without ever going to look at the house. And we just said yes to it. And we packed all our shit in the car and we drove overnight for about 12 hours, and right. And so much started to activate and open up for me after we moved here. Now we went up to Portland and had some experiences that were really important for us to have, particularly just like a lot of karmic lessons and things that were being worked out and stuff, and then moved back a couple years ago. And it was because the land called us
Mhm.
back,
Mhm.
and land holds codes. Land actually has DNA. Like, I just want to say, like, the rocks here, they are such powerful beings. They're like these big rock formations. They're such powerful beings. They have DNA just the same as we do, right? And a lot of times when we are called to make these kinds of moves, it's because there's DNA activations that are waiting for us. And sometimes those activations start to occur when we even start to think about the move, when we look at a picture of the place, right? So I know you've been experiencing some of that, but for me, the frequency of the ocean here and the frequency of the land here, it contains Lemurian codes. And so it has been this opening and this homecoming for me to my Lemurian heritage on a very visceral level, on a very deeply felt level. It also unlocked and opened up a lot of my gifts just
Mhm.
being here, um, many of which come from lifetimes in Lemuria as a sound priestess.
Mm.
So that's been integrated now into the work that I do. It's just a huge piece of who I am. And in this way, like, it is really home.
Mm.
So I say that Bandon is home. It's the place I've felt I've never felt home anywhere else, right? But I really think it's that Lemuria is home.
Mm-hmm. You know, the craziest thing is that I can't remember who I said this to, but I was like, oh, I'm so excited to move to Lemuria. And I
No,
didn't
you
even
said this to me.
you. I didn't realize I said it. And I was like, oh, but I'm
I
actually right.
meant Maui, but still, same. Same,
And
same.
what you're saying, especially about the timeline, because when we're 31 years old, it's after our first Saturn return.
Yes.
So it's a very, very important time. And it's just more golden threads that connect. And you know, I've been in deep ritual with the land here
Mhm.
because I've lived on Potawatomi land my whole lifetime so far. And
Mm.
I've darted around the Midwest. I grew up in Michigan, did undergrad in Michigan, did my master's in Indiana, moved to Chicago, and now I'm moving across the world to somewhere I've never been.
Mm.
And but I've been there, you know, and you know, for anybody wondering, like, what is Lemuria? Like, what are they talking about? If this is brand new to you, like, first, before I say anything, it's like, if this conversation makes you feel something in your body, if you're curious, if there's any part of you that's a hell yes, you don't need to understand it. You don't need to like, there's no labels. Just follow that, because for me, I'll never forget. I was in a mastermind first of all, I've been obsessed with water and dolphins ever since I was a little girl. And when my parents would make me stop swimming, I would scream and cry like
Mhm.
bloody murder. And now I know why. But I was in a mastermind in summer of 2020, and I hadn't even gone full time in my business yet. And I'm sitting in a room with Natalia Benson, Victoria Washington, like all these powerful women that have I remember sharing like in this space, like I'm so excited to go full time in my business. And I just remember all of them like looking at me with like grandmother wisdom because they'd been on the path for a lot longer than me. But one person in the space, Raquel, she said something about she said the word Lemuria, and I typed in the chat so fast. I'm like, what's
What is
Lemuria?
this?
And then I remember Victoria was like, oh, it's the whole thing with mermaids and what. She's like, just follow Raquel, you'll understand. And I started following her, and I was like, wait, there's other people who are obsessed with water like me. There's other people who believe they don't believe they know they're mermaids. Like there's people that are obsessed with the land and just like all of, and it just I was like, I had no idea. I thought it was just me. I thought it was just me and having some obsession.
Mhm.
And so Lemuria is a place that I lived past lives, Julia did past lives, and people compare it to Atlantis, but basically a lot of the choice points that are occurring now in a new earth happened before, and before darkness prevailed and light workers drowned. It was like in the ocean, like island vibes. And so my guides keep saying so loud right now. They're like, rewrite history, rewrite history, rewrite history. Like darkness will not prevail this time. When we speak and when we come together.
Yeah, I deeply feel what you're saying, and I do feel that we're being given an opportunity to do things differently in this timeline. And this is part of why, like, we're called to speak on Lemuria, to teach on Lemuria, to activate people, because there are many, many people on the planet right now who were alive during those timelines. And also, Lemurian history spans, I mean, we're talking hundreds of thousands of years. Like, this
Mm,
is ancient and this is a long period of time, right?
mhm.
So many people have had many incarnations in Lemuria, right?
I know I have. I feel like you.
Yeah. Oh, yes, many, many. Like there's not just one or two. It's it's a long
Mhm.
stretch, right? And you know, this is not to shade Atlantis, no shade to Atlantis, because Atlantean consciousness, which holds a very different frequency that you'd be able to tap into if we were bringing forward that specific frequency. Um, it is so beautiful and so advanced and so incredible in so many ways. And there was an infiltration of certain energetics, and there was essentially how do I put this? I have a feeling this actually might trigger some people who are identified with Atlantis, but we're going to say it anyway.
Okay, so if you're listening, take a deep breath.
Yeah. 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 This is just part of our history.
Yeah.
This is part of our soul history. That's all. So, what I want to name it as is a very distorted, uh, I would say, sort of shadow masculine energy that is obsessed with technology, progress, um, gain of power and information. You know, it is a thread that is literally, I would say, what most of our human society today is built around.
Mhm.
And it took root inside of Atlantis, not within everyone, but
Mhm.
within particular leaders.
Mhm.
And because of this seed, this sort of like distorted thing,
Mhm.
a fall occurred.
Mhm.
Prior to that, I mean, we had ages of living in immense harmony
Mhm.
with one another, with Mother Earth, with the elements, with our food, with our bodies, with the divine. There was like this transparency within the field where things like lying or cheating, things like people being just abandoned and left to suffer, kind of weren't part of the experience.
Mhm.
And I'm not making everything that's happened since then wrong, because
Right.
I believe in like the 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 karmic destiny being perfect. I really do. I don't look at that and say, again, like I said in the beginning, relative to my own story, I don't look at that and say that shouldn't have happened.
No, and it's just like a kid, a little kid who, you learn that the stove is hot when you,
Mm-hmm.
And so it's about the macro evolution of humanity. And I've thought about that and felt into that many times, like, especially as like, 2020 and all of this exposure in the collective. And it's like, we got to look there if we want
Yes.
to. And I just love what you said about how we had so much harmony for so long. And, Mother Earth, she's pissed, and her Kali energy is coming through in the weather, and it's coming through in, we have harmed her. The collective has harmed her and extracted from her. And it's just like the divine feminine in all forms, like our bodies being extracted, our life
Exactly.
force being extracted,
Exactly.
like something that can just be taken from and taken from and taken from. And, the people talk about, the blend of the masculine and feminine. And some people talk about it in a way where it's like, the feminine is the water and the masculine is the cup that holds the water.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, if there was no water, we wouldn't need a cup.
Mm-hmm.
And so I really, the feminine, the divine mother, Mother Earth, source, births life. It's the spark of all creation. And it's time to come home to that.
Yes. 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 And our cells and our souls remember this.
Mhm.
Many of us, we remember this way, the way of reverence to the feminine. And unfortunately, we are living in an environment where, you know, that is not presently kind of the thing, right?
Yeah, and I just want to share too how powerful the programming is. I was raised by classical musicians. I was raised on a farm.
Mhm.
I'm not afraid of hard work. I believe in the law of action, and I'm a projector in human design. And I so my teacher, one of my teachers is also a projector, and she went through a similar journey of me with burnout. And I didn't realize that I was extracting
Yes, life force.
my own life force. And the way she described it, Aisha of Oracle, she's like, my inner masculine was pimping out my inner feminine.
Yes.
And it hurts to realize that.
Yeah.
And also, I'm so grateful to know, because that's just I just wanted to share that, because the programming is so powerful. And so, and yet I remembered, and I keep coming back to that again and again. And
Mm.
I'm just coming to the word return. And it's so
Mm.
interesting. Both of us answered calls to the land after our Saturn return. And what did that give way to? Our Lemurian return.
Yes. The Saturn return and then the Lemurian return.
Yeah, the Lemurian return, which is
Yeah.
the title of this podcast and the title of our creation that we're bringing forward.
Yes. And I just want to speak to what you shared, Adrienne, is like that is such a powerful realization, and it can be so painful. I've been through similar of just seeing where, like, there is this energetic of extraction of the feminine. And what I want to say is that this is everyone, like, this is a collective
Yeah.
program and experience. So, being willing to see that within ourselves and address it there first is really the path to the collective shifting. It's so beautiful to hear you share about that. And I wanted to also say, like, with regard to the timeline that we're currently in and the the mirrors and the parallels to the Atlantean and Lemurian timeline, like, many of us actually made like a sacred vow to come back now, specifically now. And I know you're into astrology. You're such a beautiful astrologer and everything. And I know we have like Pluto and Aquarius and some different things going on where it's like there's this stuff about AI that's coming up. There's like a
It's
lot of
literally
inorganic timelines being pushed, right? So right now, specifically, people's dormant DNA is getting switched on. People are becoming activated into this remembrance, not just so that we can like feel great and play in a fluffy cloud Lemuria land, even though that's wonderful and fun. And just be like, we're mermaids, we like, that's fun and we can totally do that. But so that we can bring the consciousness of Lemuria, which is actually a feminine harmonic, and a harmonic that is aligned with human life.
yeah.
Back into the resonance of the planet.
Yes. And it's, I keep saying a new earth is now, a new earth is now. It's written in the stars. We have Pluto entering Aquarius for 21 years, y'all. 21 years. By the way, if you just went through your Saturn return like me, and you think that part of your chart had a nice cleaning out process, let's just get real comfortable in the uncomfortable, because Pluto, what he does, it's death and rebirth, okay? And he takes a fine-tooth comb and just combs through that part of the collective.
Yeah.
And that part of us. And so it's now. And all these things with AI, like, it's just choice point, choice point, choice point. I don't think it's not AI's fault. AI is neutral.
Oh, no. Yeah.
Yeah.
AI is directed by humans. That's all it is.
Yeah. And so it's like choosing the ancient way along the journey, no matter the glitz and glam that appears. And the way that Julia and I are offering is called the Lemurian Return, and it's in service of all of this within you as the leader that you are. First, leading yourself, and then anchoring your wisdom and medicine as your contribution to a better world. And so we're combining our medicines and we're going deep into the cells. We're going deep into the body, to the soul. You know, I'm going to be bringing forward a shamanic breathwork journey for you to remember and return to these frequencies within you. And it's important to me to just share that we're not going to sit here with slides in our experience and tell you what Lemuria is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's very experiential, and you get to discover and discern what it is for you, and what are you bringing to the Lemurian return experience, Julia?
Oh, I will be uh, imparting very powerful activation codes to switch on the DNA that is ready to come online now, connecting you with your Lemurian soul and your Lemurian destiny. Uh,
Mm,
and innate in that is also like a process of clearing out of distorted coding, or that which is preventing the fuller embodiment of your Lemurian consciousness on
mhm.
planet Earth now.
Yes. And you know, this is so sacred, y'all. And you are invited to this experience, um,
Yeah,
to
give me.
return, to remember. And I just, you know, destinies are not stumbled upon,
Mm.
like what we're saying about the following the golden thread. Like, even if you don't know, even if you're like, I don't know what this is, but it just feels like I'm supposed to do it. Like, really trust that, because that's how my stuff with Lemuria, literally everything magical in my life started that way. And I remember being in a sound healing that was Lemurian. It was the first thing I ever signed up for. And I think it was like a similar investment. It was over $50, but less than $100. And I remember people sharing their intention in the chat. And I just said, I don't know why I'm here, but I know I'm supposed to be.
Mm.
And that's all you need.
Yes, that is it. That is all you need. That's all you need. And sometimes, the mind wants more information
Oh,
to
hell yeah.
make it make sense, right? What's my ROI here? Like, what is happening? What, and also like, just why and how, and also the mind can really get attached to just knowing the information at that level about what
Yeah,
is Lemuria and what was the history and exactly where and when and exactly what. And it's like, that's not the point.
right.
And that's what I love about this event that is being created through us, is that it is experiential and it is ceremonial.
I'm getting very emotional
I see that.
just sharing. It's so deeply important. It's so deeply important. And I just feel part of my shamanism is like, I just feel, and and I just had a wave of the collective of all these, specifically souls and human bodies, or souls and human bodies, souls in female bodies
Female bodies, yeah.
that are craving this.
Yes. Yes, because some part of them feels who they really are.
Mhm.
Some part of them feels that. And so it's like, it's that part of them. And if you're listening, maybe it's you, like, it's that part of you that we're inviting to this
Yeah,
event.
the
You know what I
quantum
mean?
part.
Yeah. It's really that deep place where your soul lives.
Mhm.
And you'll be able to feel in your body, like there will be a resonance.
Mhm.
These are a lot of like priestesses that we're
Yes,
calling in.
we are very specifically calling in priestesses.
Hmm. Because
Mm.
it's because it's time.
It's time, it's time, it's time. What a beautiful thing it is that it's time. Thank you, Spirit.
Mhm.
So this is our sacred offering, our sacred invitation for you to sign up for the Lemurian Return. And the 3D way that this is showing up is on August 17th. And it's a 2-hour experience with Julia and I fusing our gifts together in two beautiful ribbons that flow
Mhm.
and dance and delight and hold you while you discover yourself.
Mm.
And so this is the invitation, and the link to sign up is in the show notes of this podcast. I'm so deeply excited about this, and this is just opening a whole new chapter of, I believe, both of our work and call and medicine. And I usually, so I've done rapid fire questions at the end of podcasts, but I don't feel rapid fire right now. I
That's not
feel
the energy.
quantum, and
Mm.
I just want to thank you, Julia, for walking with me on the sacred path in a true, the word we've come to a lot is harmony.
Yeah.
And it feels it's harmony. So I want to really thank you. And, if there's any last word you want to share with the community, like I want to just open up the space for that before we sign off.
Mm. Like the only thing that's coming through is I love you. I love you, Adrian, but also I love all of you who are out there and being pinged by this and resonating like on a soul level, because I see you and I feel you on that soul level. And I am so grateful that we all exist in body in this timeline. You know, it's so cool. It's so cool. And I'm really excited to be able to connect with people who find home in this frequency.
Yes. Yes.
Mhm.
I echo that. May it echo throughout the land.
Yeah.
find home in this frequency and just unconditional love.
Mhm.
Well, thank you so much, Julia. And thank you to everyone who's listening. You know, the call is here and the link is in the show notes. So you know what to do. Remember that you are unique, one of a kind, rare, that your gifts matter, that your light matters, that your unique genius is a very important part of a better world. So
Mhm.
go out there, surprise a stranger, make them smile, be kinder to yourself and be the light, be the change. And I will see you next time on A Better World with Adrienne.